Hey guys, Level Cap here. Today we have a lot of really exciting news for PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. Not only has the test server seen an update improving performance for many people and including a new emote system, but they've also revealed an overview of the new map that they're working on, which is a 4x4 kilometer tropical island. It's dissected by a river system, which I imagine will allow for a lot of jet ski and boat transportation around the map. It also features a lot of verticality. As you can see, there's quite a bit of mountains and rugged terrain mapped in here. I'm not sure how much normal land vehicles will be present on this map, as it seems like it could be pretty hard to drive around. So I imagine a lot more dense vegetation and a lot more vertical gameplay. From the overhead view, it does appear that there's a few villages or small towns built into the map, but overall, compared to what we've seen with the other maps, it seems like there might be a lot less buildings involved with this map, which could change up the gameplay drastically. However, what's going to change up the gameplay the most is the fact that this is a 4x4 kilometer map, which every other map we've received is 8x8 kilometer. To put that in perspective, here is the new tropical island map overlaid with Erangel. Let's delete the water around it, and you can compare that the landmass of the new map is a mere fraction of Erangel. In fact, when we move this landmass down over the military island on the south, it appears to be about twice as big as the military island. So this should force a lot more combat, a lot faster, and hopefully make the mid-game, end-game, early game all more action-packed and more interesting. I cannot wait to try out this new map. I think it could change up the entire dynamic of PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, and if people really enjoy it, hopefully they can push more 4x4 maps in the future. They also mentioned that they'll be testing shorter game modes on this map too, so instead of the standard 30 minutes to complete a full match, it'll probably be closer to, what, I don't know, 20 minutes? Your guess is as good as mine, but I can't wait to test it out. Now, this was only one part of the 2018 roadmap information reveal. We also got a sneak peek at a new weapon that's coming into the game. This is the DSA SA58. It's basically an upgraded FNFAL. It shoots 7.62 rounds, and the real life version has many different configurations with different stocks and barrels and all that kind of stuff, so I imagine it will be highly modular in game. Performance in theory should be somewhat on par with the Mark 14. If it's not a loot crate weapon, I would assume it's going to be like a slight downgrade from the Mark 14. Now, they've also introduced the new emote system, something which you can test out right now on the community test server. You can access the emote menu by hitting the tilde key and then moving your mouse around in a direction and clicking on one of them, or hitting a number button to activate the emote. You put your weapon away once the animation starts playing, and then you pop it back out once it's over. Clearly not something you want to do in the heat of the moment, nor would taunting your enemy be that great of an idea, because it seems like you're kind of locked in place while doing so, but it's in the test server right now if you want to play around with it. Now, as part of the roadmap, they also mentioned that it's their aim to continually upgrade the game's aesthetic side, and they showed a before and after image of how houses are rendered in-game. It is a significant improvement in terms of fidelity and detail, and they also said that they're still continuing to work on performance upgrades and netcode upgrades. They also mentioned that they're working on some new interesting game modes that should shake things up. I'm curious to see what that is and if they involve any of the zombie stuff that's gone on the private servers. If I had to guess about these game modes, I would assume that it's going to be an official zombie game mode of some sorts, and then also maybe a larger format team game mode where you could have a 50 versus 50 in one of these maps. That would be kind of cool, and then watch the big 50 player teams fight each other at the end. That would be kind of interesting. We'll have to wait and see what they announce, but this is the 2018 roadmap, so we should be seeing it this year. They're also planning on adding new vehicles the first half of the year, so I assume that means new vehicles on the existing maps, and they want to continue expanding our weapon set and also add new weapon attachments this year. Who knows what that will be, but I'm excited for any sorts of new things you can slap on your gun. They also mentioned that they are working on a new 8x8 kilometer size map. They haven't mentioned anything about it, but that they want to get it on the test server and into our hands as soon as possible so that we can start playing on that and testing it out. That's a lot of new content. I was kind of hoping that maybe they'd see how the 4x4 map played out, how people responded to it and enjoyed it, and maybe continue to push more 4x4, or maybe even split the difference and do a 6x6 map. That would be kind of cool, but we'll have to wait and see what the 8x8 is. A lot of people have been wanting a snow map, so the tropical island map might have been a letdown for some people. So maybe the new 8x8 is a snow map. They're adding in new game achievements. Some of those will be Steam achievements. They're adding in an in-game friends list and squad voice chat in the main menu. So they're expanding functionality if you take advantage of those things. They're also going to add in the ability to customize your parachute. So that should be skins on your parachute, different colors, maybe emblems and stuff like that. Plus, weapon skins will be added in the future. So that's kind of exciting, especially for people playing in the first-person perspective who can't really admire some of the gear that they're wearing. Weapon skins will be something that you can at least see while you're playing. They'll also be testing out their new limb and vehicle penetration systems on the servers. If you haven't heard about their limb penetration, basically it's set up so that if somebody's hand is in front of their face and you shoot their hand, it's going to go through their hand and then also deal damage to their head, but it will be a reduced damage based on the fact that it's already gone through their limb. This allows you to shoot for the body and not worry about if their arms are blocking them in some way or another. That should give you a much more consistent feeling in firefights. Apparently, they're also planning on overhauling their entire third-person perspective and first-person perspective animation systems to make them smoother and more reactive to the environment. This will include animations for getting inside vehicles and changing seats while in the vehicle. They also want to improve how the character moves to allow 3D replay to deliver some truly great content. They also want to overhaul the entire parachuting system to make it more polished and improve the overall look of the animations. I think everybody can agree with this, as parachuting is kind of a nightmare in PUBG, and that should be a priority since it's the first thing you do in every game. And speaking of terrible systems in PUBG, they're working on the melee combat system, both for armed and unarmed melee combat. I'm excited to see whatever they can do here, since the current melee system is kind of chaotic and it's very hard to tell when you're missing and when you're hitting and why, and it just seems all over the place. There's also a lot in store for the sound system. In the first half of 2018, they intend to increase the detail of vehicle sounds, which means introducing suspension sounds and more skidding sounds. They also want to work with surfaces that would reflect different weather conditions, add rain sounds to vehicle surfaces. Also in the first half of the year, they're looking at making the gun sounds more distinctly different depending on the point of view. In the second half of the year, they plan on changing the sound that players produce while moving so that it corresponds with the equipment that they're carrying. They also plan to introduce different breathing sounds when the player is, for example, running, aiming down sights, or holding breath. This all sounds like really good news. I like highly in-depth sound systems, and I like the idea of different sounds coming from the equipment you're carrying. Maybe if you put that pain on your back, all of a sudden it's going to clank around while you're running. Maybe it'll become less ideal to carry pants. We'll have to wait and see. Then, of course, they had to mention esports in their roadmap, as it is something that PUBG's trying to do, and most people have been kind of laughing at their effort. The spectator aspect of PUBG has been less than adequate, to say the least, and they've recognized that. They said that they're not there, they're not even close to where they want to be, and that they're working on a lot of things to improve the esports experience, especially their 3D replay system, which will hopefully allow spectators or observers during the tournaments to see the action even if they happen to miss it a few seconds ago. I'm still curious to see what kind of community they can build around competitive PUBG, because it's never going to be a first-person shooter that represents pure skill. There's going to be a huge RNG and a huge luck factor in it just because of the basic fundamentals of the game. And so I feel like it's going to have a similar appeal that maybe Texas Hold'em has. When you watch the tournaments of that, there's always the favored people to win, but when it comes down to it, sometimes a good or a bad hand can really determine if you're in or out of a tournament. And then last but not least, they're also creating the PUBG Developer API. This will allow other people, third-party companies, or just community members to create programs or websites that tap into the API for tracking stats or doing other kinds of cool things with PUBG. So that'll be nice. A lot of other games feature that, and it's about time PUBG got it. As for the new patch on the test servers, I'd recommend hopping in there and trying it out. There are supposedly a bunch of performance improvements. Some people have said that it's gotten worse for them. So I'd get in there, test it out, give your feedback, let the devs know how it's going. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Let me know what you're most excited about for 2018 in PUBG. What do you like about the roadmap? What were you hoping might have been included in the roadmap? And I'll see you next time. This is Level Cap, signing off.